Let's get right into it, because this is important. There's a book out there that has single-handedly shifted the way millions of people think about money, wealth, their entire financial future. That book is Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. It's not your typical boring finance textbook filled with complicated charts and industry jargon that makes your eyes glaze over. Instead, it's a simple, powerful story about the lessons Kiyosaki learned from two very different father figures in his life. One was his biological father, the poor dad, and the other was his best friend's father, the rich dad. This book has achieved legendary status for one simple reason: it makes the secrets of the wealthy accessible to everyone. The core message of Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a wake-up call. It screams from the pages that the traditional path we're all taught, go to school, get good grades, find a safe, secure job, save your money, is a recipe for financial struggle, not financial freedom. Kiyosaki argues that this path, championed by his poor dad, is designed to keep you in what he famously calls the rat race. You work hard to pay bills, maybe get a small raise, then your expenses go up and you're stuck running on a hamster wheel, never getting ahead. The book challenges this entire belief system and offers a completely different roadmap, the one followed by his rich dad, which leads to building real, lasting wealth. It's a blueprint for escaping the trap. The entire foundation of Rich Dad, Poor Dad is built upon the powerful contrast between two father figures in Robert Kiyosaki's childhood. On one side, an academic's neatly organized desk. On the other side, a bustling construction site and blueprints. His other dad. Poor dad, highly educated, he had a PhD, he was head of education for the state of Hawaii. He had a high income and a prestigious job, yet he constantly struggled with money. He believed academic success led to a secure career. He would often say, "The love of money is the root of all evil." He told his son, "Study hard so you can find a good company to work for." He represented conventional wisdom. On the other side, Rich Dad, an entrepreneur. He never finished the 8th grade, yet he became one of the wealthiest men in Hawaii. His perspective on money was the complete opposite. Rich Dad taught, "The lack of money is the root of all evil." He said, "Don't work for a company, learn to build or own the company." He saw the world as opportunities to create value and generate wealth. The lessons Kiyosaki learned from these two men were like night and day. Poor dad, financially illiterate. He didn't understand what an asset was. He didn't understand what a liability was. His life was a cycle of earning a paycheck just to pay off debts. Debts, expenses. He valued job security above all else. Rich Dad's philosophy centered on financial education. Rich Dad focused on acquiring assets. Assets. Things that put money in your pocket. This creates a powerful self-sustaining cycle of wealth creation. This is arguably the most mind-blowing and foundational lesson in the entire book. It's a complete reversal of everything most of us have ever been told. The first rule that Rich Dad taught Robert was simple but profound. The rich don't work for money. This sounds completely backward, right? How can you get rich if you don't work for money? What it actually means is that the wealthy have learned to make their money work for them. Trading your time for a paycheck is the slowest and least effective way to build wealth. It's a trap. Your income is limited by the number of hours you can work, and you have to keep showing up to get paid. Instead of working for a salary, the rich focus on acquiring and building assets. An asset generates income and puts money into your pocket even when you're not working. Think of it like planting a money tree. Plant the seed and water it, the tree grows, and it starts producing fruit by itself. You can be sleeping, on vacation, or working on another project, and that tree still generates money for you. This is the core strategy of the wealthy. They buy or create money trees instead of just showing up to a job. The poor and middle class are caught in a different pattern. They learn to work for money. Their financial life revolves around their job. They get up, go to work, get paid, then use that money to pay their bills. Mortgage, extra money is often spent on liabilities mistaken for assets. They are driven by fear and greed. Rich Dad taught Robert to break the cycle by changing focus. Shift your mindset from employee to owner and investor. Let your money work for you. If the first lesson is about what the rich do, this second lesson is about how they do it. The single biggest difference between the rich and everyone else isn't their inheritance or their luck, it's their level of financial literacy. Rich Dad was adamant that you must learn the language of money if you ever want to master it. He said, "It's not how much money you make that matters, it's how much money you keep. And to keep money, you have to understand it." Financial literacy is simply the ability to understand and effectively use various financial skills: personal financial management, budgeting, investing. It's the education you don't get in school. The most basic yet most powerful piece of this education is understanding the difference between an asset and a liability. Rich Dad's definition is incredibly simple. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. That's it. It's not more complicated than that. For example, a rental property that generates positive cash flow every month is an asset. A dividend-paying stock is an asset. A business that creates profit is an asset. Now here's where most people get confused, and it's a critical point. The poor and middle class often buy liabilities that they think are assets. The most common example Kiyosaki gives is your primary residence, the house you live in. It takes money out of your pocket every single month for the mortgage, property taxes, insurance, maintenance, repairs. It doesn't generate any income, therefore it's a liability. The rich buy luxuries last, while the poor and middle class tend to buy them first. So, this lesson is really a call to action, and honestly, it often gets misinterpreted. When Rich Dad told Robert to mind your own business, he definitely didn't mean don't stick your nose in other people's affairs. What he actually meant was that you need to build and manage your own business, your own asset column, in addition to your regular profession. Your profession is what you do to earn a paycheck. Teacher, doctor, mechanic, accountant. But your business, well, that's what you do with that money. Your business is your collection of income-generating assets that work for you. Here's the thing. Most people spend their entire lives minding someone else's business, basically their employers, and totally neglect their own. Think about it for a second. When you work for a company, you're helping to build your boss's asset. You're making the owners richer. There's nothing inherently wrong with that, since you're getting paid for your time and skills. Rich Dad's advice was to keep your daytime job, be a hardworking employee, but use your paycheck to start buying or creating assets. Don't just go home, watch TV, and then repeat the cycle. Instead, go home and spend a few hours each week minding your own business, researching stocks, looking for a rental property, building a side hustle, learning a new investing skill. So what does your business actually look like? It revolves around the asset column we talked about earlier. According to Kiyosaki, your business can be anything that generates passive or portfolio income. The key is that it's something separate from your job, something that builds your wealth independently of your salary. By minding your own business, you're taking the first real step toward financial independence. You're no longer just an employee. You're becoming an investor and a business owner. This is where the advice starts to get a little more advanced, but honestly, it's a secret the rich have used for centuries to accelerate their wealth. Rich Dad explained that one of the biggest differences between the rich and the middle class is how they handle taxes. And, it's not about illegal tax evasion, it's about legal tax avoidance using the power of a corporation. Employee path, earn, pay taxes, spend, earn money, pay taxes, and then try to live on what's left. The government always gets its cut first, right off the top of your paycheck. This makes it incredibly difficult to get ahead. The rich, however, have flipped this model completely upside down by using a corporation, like an LLC or S-Corp corporation path. Earn, spend, pay taxes on remainder. It earns money, it spends money on all its business-related expenses, and then it pays taxes on whatever profit is left over. This is a huge advantage. It means the rich can legally use pre-tax dollars to pay for things that can be classified as business expenses. Cars, travel, meals, and even parts of their home office. They get to spend the money first and pay taxes later on a much smaller amount. Think of it this way. An employee might earn $100,000, immediately lose $30,000 to taxes, and have $70,000 left to live on and invest. An entrepreneur who owns a corporation might also earn $100,000 in revenue. They then spend $60,000 on legitimate business expenses, salaries, equipment, travel, and so on. Now they only have to pay taxes on the remaining $40,000 in profit. This strategic use of the tax code allows the wealthy to keep more of their money working for them. It's a crucial part of what Rich Dad called financial IQ. It's not just about making money, it's about protecting that money from its biggest predator. Taxes. This lesson sounds almost magical, but it's one of the most practical, powerful mindsets of the wealthy. When Rich Dad said, "The rich invent money," he wasn't saying they printed cash in their basements. He meant creating wealth from opportunities other people don't see. Most people think you need money to make money. They believe you must save up a huge nest egg before you start investing. The rich know their most valuable asset is their mind. They use their financial intelligence. They use their creativity. They use their courage to identify and structure deals requiring little or no cash. How is this possible? It's about seeing value where others see nothing. It's about solving problems. Example, a rundown, neglected house. But an investor sees vision. Imagine it renovated into a modern apartment complex. They negotiate with the owner to buy with no money down. Seller financing. They find a private lender to fund renovation costs, then they sell it for a large profit, or they rent it out for steady cash flow. They've created tens of thousands in equity and income out of thin air simply by using knowledge and negotiation skills. This is a powerful career lesson that really goes against the grain of conventional wisdom. Most people chase jobs based on salary, benefits, title. Rich Dad's advice was to do the opposite, especially early in your career. He urged Robert to choose jobs based on what he could learn, not what he could earn. He believed that the skills you acquire are far more valuable in the long run than a slightly bigger paycheck today. Kiyosaki himself took a job as a salesperson for Xerox Corporation. His goal was to conquer his fear of rejection and learn how to sell. That skill became the foundation for all his future success. This is a long-term strategy. You're trading short-term income for long-term wealth-building capability. The goal is to become a well-rounded individual with a diverse skill set, ultimately better equipped to build your own financial empire. So, we've walked through the core lessons of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We've seen the stark difference between working for money and having money work for you. We've learned the critical importance of financial literacy, of minding your own business, and of using your mind to create opportunities. The question now is, what do you do with this information? Reading a book or an essay is a great first step, but knowledge is only potential power. True power comes from taking action. Your journey to financial freedom doesn't begin when you have a lot of money. It begins the moment you decide to change your mindset and take control. The first and most important action is to commit to your own financial education. Start by reading books on finance, investing, and business. Listen to podcasts, watch videos, take a course, start tracking your finances meticulously. Understand exactly where your money is going. Use Rich Dad's simple definitions to categorize everything into assets and liabilities. Next, start small. Your goal is to start building your asset column, no matter how insignificant it seems at first. The key is to build the habit of acquiring assets. Over time, through the magic of compounding and reinvestment, these small streams of income will grow into a mighty river. Finally, you must overcome the two biggest obstacles that hold most people back: fear and self-doubt. The fear of losing money is real, but as Rich Dad taught, the biggest risk is playing it too safe and remaining financially uneducated. Start with small, calculated risks where you can afford to lose. Treat every mistake not as a failure, but as a priceless learning opportunity. Surround yourself with people who support your goals. The journey out of the rat race is a marathon, not a sprint. It requires patience, discipline, and a relentless commitment to learning and growing. The choice is yours, and your future self will thank you for starting today.